How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the channel. It's time for the Monday breakdown, and I mean, what can you say about that weekend? It was an unbelievable weekend to be a Celtic supporter. So in this video, I'm going to look back at the 7-0 win against St Johnstone. I'm going to take a quick look at the split, which is happening next week, and a quick look ahead to the Scottish Cup semi-final as well. Let's get into the video. So as usual, before I get into the actual topics, if you're new to the channel and you want to get more of these videos, please do consider subscribing to the channel by hitting the button below. Like the video as well so more people can see them, and do leave a comment as well. Let me know your thoughts on all of the topics discussed. So we'll start with the 7-0 win against St Johnstone, and I mean, what can you say about that performance? There is not enough superlatives in the world that can describe how good Celtic were in Celtic Park. Everything clicked into place. It was the intensity that you wanted after a big win. If there was any doubt about complacency slipping into the team, Celtic wiped that away at the weekend. It was the perfect performance from the team. And there are certain moments in this season where you think Celtic have changed over the course of the year. If you think back to Ralston's last minute goal, or a couple of goals from Giakoumakis, where last year they just wouldn't have gone in, the bounce wouldn't have happened, he wouldn't have got onto that ball, the ball wouldn't have gone over the line. This year, those goals have gone in, we've won the game scrappy, whereas the game against St Johnstone, that was like an announcement to the world, an announcement to the Scottish League as well, that this team, even when they win against Rangers the week before, there's no complacency. They bring the exact same, if not more, intensity to the game, and they are a superb football team. I know it's very easy to get caught up in sort of recency bias and how good this team actually is at the moment, but if they continue on the same sort of trajectory as they're on, we could be talking about one of the most entertaining Celtic teams that I've ever witnessed in my lifetime. I know there are people who will argue the likes of Tommy Byrne's team was better, and obviously you can't compare with the European Cup winners. But in my lifetime, watching and supporting Celtic, I barely scraped the Martin O'Neill era. You know, I had the Larson just about the tail end of his Celtic career. But then you're talking about like Gordon Strachan, you're talking about Neil Lennon 2.0, 1.0, you're talking about Ronnie Deila. Brendan Rodgers was the best football that I thought Celtic were capable of. But I genuinely think that Ange Postecoglou is going to take Celtic to the next level. I think he might be a step above where Brendan Rodgers was at. And that's saying something compared to, I know, we're getting very ahead of ourselves when I'm talking about this, but that's how excited I am. Brendan Rodgers basically won a treble, went invincible in the season. So when Celtic eventually do that, if they do that, then it's time to start comparing them. But what I'm trying to say is, I think the football that Ange is going to bring, this is just the beginning. And that was probably the best performance that I've seen Celtic put in the last maybe 5 years. It was unstoppable. Just to back that up with a couple of stats, Celtic had an attempted over 1,000 passes. So I think it was 1,003 passes Celtic attempted in that game. They completed 892. Now, if you look at this Guardian report from 2019, that would put Celtic in the top 5 most passes ever completed in a professional football match at a top level. So you've got Bayern Munich against Hertha, that's under Pep Guardiola, a couple of Pep Guardiola teams for obvious reasons, but Celtic would be in the top 5 in that game against St Johnstone. It would be the top 5 most completed passes in a competitive football match. That's an incredible thing for Celtic to be doing, and that is how you want Celtic to be playing the game. You want Celtic to be dominating possession, but not even just dominating possession for possession's sake. Celtic were ruthless against St Johnstone. It wasn't just passing around the back. It wasn't just, passing it sideways, passing it back, recycling the ball, being patient. Celtic were going for their throat probably 8 times out of 10 times that they had the ball. They were absolutely relentless when they had it, and that's how you want Celtic to play against teams like St Johnstone, who were fighting for their lives for their place in the top 6. That is what you want Celtic to do. You want them to go for St Johnstone's throat, and that was a marker from Celtic that, yes, we went and beat Rangers in a different way, but we are not going to get complacent. This season is not over. And a famous line from Ange at the start of the season: we do not stop until it's over. We do not stop until the trophy is in our hands. That's the motto that Celtic have lived by this season, and I'm incredibly excited to see what happens under Ange in the second season, because this is just the beginning, and that was just an incredible performance from an incredible team who we've all grown to love over the course of the season. So if that doesn't get you in the gates at Celtic Park, if this team don't entertain you, then I don't know what you're watching on your TV screen. So that was the 7-0 win against St Johnstone. One thing that I do want to point out from the game is that there were a multiple number of goal scorers in that game. You know, it wasn't just like a hat-trick from Giakoumakis and then a couple of goals here and there from a couple of other people. The goals were spread out. You know, you had Giakoumakis, you had Matt O'Reilly, you had Maeda, you had Abada. There were multiple goal scorers in that 7-0 win. And that's been a trend for Celtic over the course of the season. And that's one thing that I think should be noted when you're looking at this Celtic team and why they're in such a powerful position at the minute. Across the season, in all competitions, Celtic have had 20 goal scorers altogether across all the multiple competitions. That even counts Odsonne Edouard, who's now playing at Crystal Palace. Off that 20, 9 of those players have 5 or more goals in all competitions. So if you compare that to Rangers have 18 players who have scored in all competitions. Only 6 of them have scored more than 5 goals. And you can see, if you look at their goal scorers compared to Celtic, there's a lot more of them on 2 goals or 1 goals across the season. Whereas Celtic, you know, there's multiple players who have 5 goals. I mean, Cameron Carter-Vickers has 4 goals. There are players who you wouldn't expect to be on the score sheet who are well up in Celtic's score list, and that just shows you the type of team that Celtic are at the minute, and the type of sort of mentality that Ange has instilled within this team, that it's not just Kyogo, who has been out injured since December, who is scoring all the goals, and it's not Giakoumakis who's scoring all the goals for Celtic when they come in. They're not reliant on one striker. They're not reliant on a couple of inverted wingers coming in and getting goals. Everybody is getting goals. And they are important goals as well. If you look at Tom Roderick's goals, for example, the one against Rangers, very, very important goal. Anthony Ralston, I mentioned it earlier on, his header, very important goal. Cameron Carter-Vickers getting on the score sheet. I'm pretty sure the only person who hasn't scored, who's been playing consistently over the course of the season, who haven't scored more than 4 goals, is Starfelt and Greg Taylor. That's essentially it. The rest of them, who have been consistently playing, be that Turnbull before the Christmas break, be that Hatate since he came in, Matt O'Reilly starting to get on the score sheet now, they all have 3 to 4 goals to their name. So they're all popping up. And it's not just flat track bullies. They're scoring important goals when Celtic have needed them. So it is a team effort. And I think we're seeing that Celtic are the strongest team in the league this season. That brings me on to the split. So the split is obviously happening very shortly. Celtic are going to be playing Rangers, Hearts, Ross County, Dundee United and Motherwell in the last 5 games of the season. So the reports are that Celtic will be playing Rangers first, Rangers at home, and that will mean that Celtic will have played Rangers 3 times this month. But that doesn't faze me. I know I was nervous going into the last derby match and Celtic pulled it off. So with the semi-final this weekend, I think we're going to see something different. I'll talk about that in just 1 second. But with another derby match, if Celtic beat Rangers this weekend and Rangers get knocked out of the Europa League, then that's their season over, essentially. I don't know how I would feel if I was playing on their side. I'd be pretty demoralised if that was the case. And if Celtic are going for a treble and then playing Rangers' first game of the split, my money is fully on Celtic to pull out something different again, because they just have the strength and depth, they have the calmness, they have the ability, they're sticking to their beliefs, and that's held them well throughout the season. It's held them well in the derby games. They haven't changed what they've been doing, and they've had the better of Rangers. So the fact that they're playing them first after the split obviously depends on the semi-final, how that goes. But I have full confidence that even if Celtic don't beat Rangers this weekend in the Scottish Cup semi-final, that even the first game of the split, I have full confidence that Celtic will beat them at home. And that would put Celtic 9 points ahead with 4 games left. The league is essentially done by then if Celtic win that. So I would say that's what Ange would be saying to the players, that obviously you don't take your foot off the gas now. You keep going, keep believing in what we're doing, and we will eventually get to that trophy. And then when we get to that trophy, then you get a break. And by God, Maeda needs to have a break at this point in time, the amount of running he's been doing in the last couple of games. So that brings me on to the Scottish Cup semi-final this weekend. On Sunday, Celtic take on Rangers. And this is a massive game for a number of reasons. Firstly, the impact that this game could have on the rest of the league season shouldn't really be underestimated. If Celtic win this, again, like I've said, if Celtic win this against Rangers, and then they have Rangers post-split again, Celtic are fully confident going into that game that they can go win it. And if they win against Rangers in the league, 9 points clear, the league's as good as done. If Rangers win, it will take a little bit of a chunk out of Celtic's armour, but I still believe that they will still stick to their beliefs and stick to their system and don't really vary from what they've been doing, because what they've been doing has been successful. The key question is Celtic going to make any major changes going into this game compared to what they did in the last couple of derby matches? So in the first derby, you had a full blitz from Celtic in the first 20 minutes. Serious pressure put on the Rangers players. Celtic were as good as out the gap at half-time, 3-0 up, and then just sat back, were happy enough to soak up any Rangers pressure, controlled possession. In the game against Rangers most recently, they were a little bit shaky at the start, but built their way into the game, pressed high with a 4 up front, allowed Rangers to have the ball in midfield, and then were very compact in defence. So that was a very different Celtic performance that we've become used to. But again, very, very effective performance from Celtic, because again, they got the win at Ibrox, 6 points clear. So what could Celtic do differently in this game? Well, I think the key change will be obviously up front. If Giakoumakis is out injured for this game, he pulled up against St Johnstone, that leaves the door open for Kyogo to start this game. I thought we would have seen Kyogo a little bit earlier in the game against St Johnstone, and that might be a sign of where his fitness is at, whether or not he has a full game in him. If you compare it to the League Cup final where Kyogo, was not fully fit, and after that game was essentially out injured for until now, I think the risk to reward element of it does come into play. Ange has shown that he will risk a player if he thinks the reward is good enough. So will he start Kyogo in this game if he thinks by 40-50 minutes into this game having Kyogo on the pitch from the start will give Celtic the advantage? I think he will start with Kyogo and try something a little bit different against Rangers, because we haven't really had the setup that Kyogo has been able to bring in any of the derby matches so far. So I think you start Kyogo. Matt O'Reilly obviously speaking his praises during the week. He brings something completely different. That pass over the top to Maeda for what led to Abada's goal was absolutely exceptional. His movement, his pressing, Maeda and Kyogo up front together pressing the hell out of this Rangers defence really would be something that Celtic could get a lot of benefit from. But do you risk him being out injured for the rest of the season then if he's not fully fit? I think the risk is worth the reward for what Celtic could do, because I think Celtic could, again, it could be like the first game of the season where Celtic just blitzed them, were out the gap by half an hour, half time, and are able to make those substitutions then, and are able to rotate, bring Abada on, soak up a bit of pressure from Rangers and just close out the game. That's how I think Celtic will approach the game. I think Kyogo will start. Obviously, cup finals and cup semi-finals are a little bit different to league games, but I think Celtic have had the beating the Rangers all season. The players are confident. Giakoumakis is confident. Everybody in the Celtic team are confident in what they're doing and confident in sticking to their approach. So if Celtic do that and don't vary from everything, I think, again, they have the beating of this Rangers team and can push for a treble. Who'd have thought we'd be pushing for a treble at the start of the season? That is the Monday breakdown for this week. Just a heads up that I think the Huddle breakdown will be coming your way a little bit earlier this week. Tomorrow, I think we're recording our St Johnstone review, because later on in the week, we'll be doing our preview to the derby match in the cup semi-final as well. So if you want to get that and you want to get the rest of the videos on this channel, please do hit the subscribe button below, like the video as well so more people can get to see them, and do leave a comment as well. Let me know your thoughts on everything discussed in the video. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll chat to you later. Good luck.